Hey everybody, welcome back. And yeah, I'm usually the first one to admit when I've done messed up. And guys, I done messed up, and I messed up good. Here's what happened. I got a little excited when I was leaving one day and hit the garage door with my mirror. So even though it's a breakaway mirror, I hit it hard enough where it just shattered, and then took a good chunk of it with it. So I got to replace it. And what I'm going to show you how to do today is pretty simple. Usually the dealership wants several $100s. I did one of these for a neighbor for a Volvo, and they wanted $1,400 just to replace a mirror. For her, I was able, thankfully, to find a mirror from a junkyard for $300, and we put it in the better part of 20 minutes. So anyway, I want to show you how to replace one of your broken mirrors for either junkyard or a new one. Usually junkyards are cheaper, and do it in maybe 20 minutes or so. Save yourself a ton of money. Anyway, I'll show you how to do it. Here we go.
Alright, so I think from this point I'm just going to do some narration over the top of it. I have some audio in a couple places, but first things first is you got to find the little screws. There's a couple little screws in here. This one's a bolt that goes through where the door release is, and then there's one where the door handle is. That holds it on, holds the little panel on, and you'll see me take the screws out here to the panel on the bottom right here. Those are little Torx bits. And what I found is there's also two hidden screws underneath that later that will hold the entire door panel on. So you'll have to find them on yours. Sometimes they're hidden, but usually there's only 2 or 3 that hold the entire door panel on. And then the rest of it's all these little pop screws. So I did leave some audio in some places so you can actually hear the sound, because I know for a lot of people it feels like they're breaking it, but in reality it's just these little plastic push pins that are in there. And I did this for 20 bucks. The mirror that I found was from a junkyard. They sent it to me. I think shipping was $5, and I think total said and done was $25. And when I looked at the timestamp, I recorded this entire thing from front to back, and I think the entire time took me maybe 12 minutes total. Yeah, there's one of the Torx bits that you can see. Try it. There's a couple places I apologize. Oh, something about this tool. This is a tool, a specialized tool to pry open some of the push lock little plastic clips that are in there. I did find 2 on the side here. So here's the 2 on the side. They're kind of out of frame, but you kind of like a screwdriver kind of pry it in there and pop them out pretty easily. Doesn't damage it, and sometimes you do, but you know, local stores like Napa will have this tool, and also the little pop plastic pieces that you can put in there. So any hardware store is going to have this tool, especially a car store, you know, for $5 maybe. So here's the audio part that I'm going to let you hear, because it does kind of sound like you're breaking it, but in reality you're not. Okay, so just taking off the door panel is, I'd say, 90% of this. So when you do take it off, you're going to hear some popping noises, and yeah, this tool right here is maybe $5, so you can find it pretty much anywhere. So here we go. You're going to hear the sound here in just a second. Alright, so now I've got it fairly loose, and what I'm finding is that it's binding up somewhere. And what I've found is I'm trying to look around here for where it's binding up, and I eventually find it. It takes me about a minute and a half to find it, but it makes sense. As soon as I pulled this little center console up, yep, kind of happened into it. You pull all the little electrical connectors off, the little quick disconnect weather pack, and I find 2 screws at a 45-degree angle that actually going into the door that hold the door panel on. So here the general rule is if it's around the edge of your door panel, it's going to have those little plastic pieces, little plastic clips that pop out. If it's somewhere in the middle of the door, it's going to be a screw of some type. So just kind of general idea. And door panels are generally put in there. They kind of lay on top. There's kind of like a little J hook that goes up to the top where the window is. You may want to roll down the window before you do this. Sometimes that makes it easier, sometimes not. But here's the 2 screws that I find. Both Torx bits, same size, that were in the little door handle area. And the door will come off pretty easily now. And there is one more kind of clip that's right by where the mirror is, and you'll see me kind of pop it out here in just a second. But same thing, it's just held in with a little plastic clip. So all in all, I've done this on several doors and several different makes and manufacturers, and it's basically the same thing. 2 or 3 screws that hold it on. The rest of it are plastic clips that push it into place. You're gonna hear a pop here. There it is. And what I found was a plastic clip, and since the door release is still holding this on, I'm just going to loosely put it down there. And now I have access to all 3 of the bolts and nuts that hold the mirror in. And kind of first things first is, get rid of the first 2. It's a 10 millimeter for most cars. So if you have a modern car, buy yourself a set of 10 mils. That little black plastic cap that you see in the upper right, I'm going to pull that off, and that holds the 3rd screw. And I just was able to pull that off with my fingernails. That wasn't in there too bad. So apologize for kind of getting in the way. There's not really a great way to film this. But basically what you'll see is I'm going to remove the little electrical piece right here for the power mirror. If you don't have power mirrors, then there's going to be a cable, but most mirrors are power these days. And then pull it through so that plastic, black plastic cap is gone. Removed all 3. Literally, that's pretty much in real time how long it took me. It does not take a long time. So if a dealership is telling you it's going to take a while. This is my junkyard mirror, $20. Same color, same everything. Shipped to my door, $25 total. So pretty good deal in the end. And it was worth a significant amount of money when I went to trade this car in. So I traded this car in for another vehicle, which I'm going to show you a video on here in a little bit because I'm pretty excited. My first new vehicle ever. I did buy a motorcycle once, but I'm not really sure that really counts because it was relatively inexpensive. But it was new, but this is my first real, big boy vehicle that I bought myself. So anyway, when it came time to trading this car in, I knew it was going to be worth a couple $100. I know they were going to try and shortchange me, so I made sure to change the mirror before I took it in. And installation's the same as before. You got 3 10 millimeter nuts that hold on 3 bolts, and this is basically the same design for almost any vehicle out there. Reconnect, everything's in reverse, right? Reconnect the power window accessory weather pack, and then put that little black plastic cap over it. You don't have to, but it just makes it look nicer. And then basically everything's in reverse, and sometimes putting it back on is a little bit more tricky because you got to line all the holes up. But generally, for the most part, these are self-aligning. And so when you put the door panel back on, it's kind of like a J hook that goes over the top of the door frame itself and then kind of hangs down off the top, and then there's a bunch of clips on the outside. And usually, kind of, give it a firm slap with the palm of your hand. You should take it off pretty easily, not too bad. Kind of do it all around the edge, kind of like I do here. There's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 in total. Yep, and you can kind of see it slapping in place, and everything is good to go. Really not hard. You'll see it through the door panel itself. You put the little pins back in, and, Bob's your uncle. Put the screws back in. You'll see them through the holes. Procedure is very easy. So, especially in Minnesota, a lot of rearview mirrors get smashed by snowplows and, minor accidents and that sort of thing. So, it's really not that hard at the end of the day. I've done a bunch of these for neighbors who, by accident or, somebody runs into them, doesn't see where they're going, or they hit things. So again, same in reverse. You can't mess these up. The plugs are all different, and it goes in pretty easily. You'll see me kind of wonder how this goes back into place because it is a pretty tight fit, and I don't want to break it because the plastic clips are sometimes a little fragile. So once I do figure it out, it took me 1 or 2 tries. But again, this is pretty much in real time. I'm maybe cut out 10 seconds there. Again, give it a lot of these interior things seem to take a little hand slap, and they seem to just go right into place without any issues. So I grab my Makita tools again. Big fan of Makita tools, by the way. They don't sponsor the channel or anything. but I just really enjoy them. They're good stuff. Never failed me. Long lasting. You know, the prosumer style. You know, they're not. They're not professional grade, but they're also not chintzy stuff either. So that's why I prefer the Makita brand stuff. But there you go. She's pretty much done. Last thing is a little cosmetic piece that goes inside the door handle itself, just to hide that little screw. And you'll have to find some of those screws every once in a while because they're hidden sometimes, but usually they're in the door handle and then the door pull itself. So let's go ahead and test it. Make sure it works. Yep, power window works. So $25, all done. Thanks, guys. See ya.